I'd like to call to order the Middletown City Council meeting for Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. If we can start with a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Ms. Gank, you please call the roll for us.
Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Ms. Nenny.
Here.
Mr. Moon.
Here.
Mr. Muterspaw.
Here.
Mayor Condrey.
Here. I hope everyone is enjoying our new microphone setup. You can hear us all very well. We're also in a good mood because the meeting is much shorter than it has been. The agenda, that is. We'll see how that goes. All right, this evening we're going to start with a presentation from Jerry Lewis for the parades and movies in the park.
For someone that doesn't like speaking in public, I'm doing this twice in a row. I think we have a presentation. My name is Jerry Lewis. Most all of you know who I am, and this is my 6th year kind of manning the Memorial Day and 4th of July parades. This is the 8th year, really the 6th year since COVID happened with the movies in the park, and I thought it was a great time to kind of present what we're doing and invite council to be a part and everybody in Middletown to join us for these great family activities. So Memorial Day will be on Memorial Day, Monday, May 30th at 10 a.m. is step off. If you want to be in the parades, we have a Facebook page. It is Middletown Parades. Very easy to find, and there's on there, there's a link you can sign up to be in the parade. So super easy, it's free, and we get a great crowd that comes out for that. So next slide. You can kind of see, this is years past since I've taken and worked with the committee. We have the same committee. We just have so much fun putting these on, just finding the different pieces and gathering that picture up in the left corner. I think that was right before COVID hit, the year before COVID, and I could not be more tickled about that because that's what small town America should look like, right? All those families lining up and building relationships with each other. Yeah, so next.
The yellow car is my grandpa's, actually.
Is it?
Ironically, yeah.
I knew that. That's why I used that picture.
Yeah, that's what I figured, yeah.
I had
Great
no
plan we had there, yeah.
The red truck's mine.
Used to be yours.
Oh.
I think that's Madison.
Yeah.
But what I love about, and you can go to the next slide, you can see it's more than just a parade for Memorial Day. We meet the Saturday before and put flags on every single soldier's grave in Woodside Cemetery. And Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts come out, but so many families come out. It's a great activity. That's at 9 a.m. Saturday before. It's incredible to see who comes out to teach their kids just truly what Memorial Day is about, to honor those that have lost their lives but are not forgotten. In addition to the parade, at the end of the parade, we land in Woodside Cemetery where there's a ceremony, and I'm biased completely, but it's probably the best ceremony I've seen, and I'm an Army brat, so I've seen lots of them over my lifetime. We have all sorts of people that come out and want to be a part of it. There's music, there's a dove release, there's skydivers that jump in with the flag. It's just such an honor to get to be a part of that. So that's right directly after the parade. If you're not going to the parade, you can kind of get into the cemetery about 11:30, and we'll get started about quarter till, sorry. Next. This year's Grand Marshal we are announcing, it is Kenny. He is, and that slide's kind of over a little bit. I can't read all of it, but he's from the Social Command here in Middletown, and it's a lot of groups are put together of different retirees, and he fought in Vietnam. He's written a book, just a really good guy, 33 years at AK Steel. Nothing screams louder Middletown than AK Steel to me, and the fact that he fought in Vietnam and has such a great story. He's just the perfect fit this year. All right, 4th of July parade is going to be Monday on 4th of July at 10 a.m. Step off is 10 a.m. Lineup is 9 a.m. Next slide. And you can see we really get into floats for that. Our hope and my dream, and I know it's everybody on the committee's dream, is to see every park represented, every neighborhood represented on a float in our parade. And I would love to see that kind of participation. We're getting there. We get a good turnout with sports teams in different neighborhoods, but we'd love to see every neighborhood and every church and everybody in the community part of it. So you can see all the faces of excitement. We have a theme every year. That's the next slide. And this year it just seemed fitting. Middletown through the decades, and we're going to encourage everybody to kind of get their best 20s outfit, 40s, 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or just dress like what they would wear today, to come out and even decorate according to those decades. Thought it would be fun to kind of see Middletown represented through the years. So this is our awesome committee. Not everyone could be at this particular meeting, but they have been with me for 6 years. And I think that says a lot about them. They're dedicated. We have turned into a family. I love this whole group. We are not afraid to give opinions to each other, which I think is really important. And they love this community with their whole hearts. And so I think we were walking down the steps from the last meeting, and I think it was Mary Ann and Stephanie said, "Yeah, I'm with the parades till I die." And that's kind of how we all feel, and I think that's a great way to be. We are looking for a city rep and more veterans to get involved in our committee, because we think both are very important. Everyone has a voice, and we'd like to see more of that voice on our committee. So, next. Thank you. Middletown's Movies in the Park. Anyone knows me knows my whole summer goes to this. My kids go to this. My whole family, everybody that's volunteered to be part of this. It's all of our families at these every time, and it's turned into quite the event. Every other weekend, we're going to give it a try. We've done it on Friday nights. We're going to give it a try on Saturday nights this year. I did a survey way back, and that's kind of what everyone said. They'd like to have that extra room to then get there on Saturday. So we're going to try that. Turnout's really great. This is this year's movies. We picked really great movies this year, got really good deals, and we are extending it into September and October. We're partnering with Damon Park for National Recovery Month, a true life story about Steps, a gentleman that beat addiction and is doing and thriving in life. So we're going to show that movie. It's family friendly as well. Let's see, we're partnering with John Festival, which I'm excited about. We tried to partner with events already happening so that we can improve their event, but partner with them in a way that their event thrives, our event thrives, and we're working together. I think that's important. And then we're also partnering with the Trunk or Treat out at Town Mall. That's been an incredible event the last few years, so we're excited about that. And there's an actual Ghostbusters car that will be there, so I'm super excited about that too. These are this year's sponsors, and it's growing. Police come out usually with a canine. Fire truck usually comes out. They get to pick. We have tons of churches that are coming out, and the churches set up and do the snacks completely free. We wanted this to be an event that families have no reason not to come. Their kids aren't going to be tempted to, "Mom, can you buy me this?" because it's already free. And someone said, "Well, we can have food trucks or something like that." Maybe. I like to do it free just because the very first year we did this, and this is going to stick out in my head, there was a family that fosters special needs children, and they were able to bring 6 kids in wheelchairs to this and provide a safe family event, snacks, and an environment of community that they don't always get. And so that sticks out. And there was another year where a father had just gotten out of treatment and he had never been to the movies with his kids, and he was able to bring them in this safe environment for him and them, and provide them with unlimited snacks and have those great memories. And that's what that event's about, is to be able to do that kind of stuff. So it's a no-brainer to be part of it and to continue them. I'm excited to start them back up this summer. And yeah, that's next slide. I think that's it. That's it. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
The parade routes, I know that they have changed in the past, but what are the parade routes for both of the parades this year, just so people know where to line up?
Yeah, so lineup is in Smith Park. We are going to be able to come down Verity. The road work down there is not going to constrict us from that. I already checked. And so both are going to start at Smith and end at Woodside. The 4th of July parade, the only difference is there's lots of floats for that, so we tend to go to the right on 14th versus going inside to Woodside, because that would be logistically nightmare. So.
I was also curious when you were talking about the floats and all the hard work that everybody puts into them. Has there ever been like a judging committee to like award the best floats? Is that part of it?
Yes. So for 4th of July, we do that. For Memorial Day, we don't do that. Just because we want to stay reverent to Memorial Day. But 4th of July, we do. The categories for this year are going to be announced very soon. Usually we wait till after Memorial Day to announce those categories, and then we have 3 judges. So
Very cool. Thanks.
we have trophies.
Thanks for all your work, and to the committee for all their work. It's an important part of the community, so appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also thank you for coming to council to talk about it. It's a perfect place for it.
Twice in a row. Yeah.
You sure Christy doesn't want to come up and talk?
I'm sure she would.
Kidding.
You send the invitation, she'll do
What did
it.
I do? He's-
Don't ask a question.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve our community this way. Our hearts are there for these, and looking forward to some other ideas we've got brewing for next year. So
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next that brings us to citizen comments. We have 3 this evening. The first is Jeremy Lukinas, followed by Michael Ryan, and last Berlina Stewart.
First. I am here to talk about historic buildings, as
Can you
everybody
state your name
in
and
here.
address for the record, Bora?
Jeremy Lukinas, 214 South Main Street.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm here to talk about historic buildings and give all of you a thank you. Each one of you have hard-hatted and work-booted and trudged through moldy, wet buildings with people from Historic Commission and developers and different things like that. So I commend you on doing that, because I've been trying to get that to happen for 7 years with not much luck. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is the Historical Society is working with the Rotary, and they're having a Save the Manchester event that is on Facebook, so you can vote and take their survey. It's a 1-question survey. Should the Manchester be saved? And 95% of the people who have responded have said yes. Obviously, there's some people who don't think it should be. In the past couple of weeks, I have been privileged to go through a lot of our old building inventory, the Manchester, Ford Sunshine, and they are all in very savable shape. For years, I've tried to get in them, and I've been told that they're on imminent collapse, they're getting ready to fall in. Yes, they are vandalized. Yes, the photos you see online look terrible, but the floors in most of them are 2 feet thick. If anything happens in Middletown, I'm headed to the Manchester to get in the basement. We had a very well-known developer. We've had a couple developers come through. One of them is Bill Wayland out of Louisville, and it was very informative to walk through those projects with him to hear his thoughts on what we could do as a city and as a community to save these buildings. And one of the interesting things he said that I really hadn't thought about was when he was in the Ford Sunshine building, he said, this is the one you should save first, because this one is easy and it will kick off all the other buildings. And to be honest, up until that point, I was kind of the mindset as other people were, it was probably too far gone. But I hadn't been in it. Once we went through it, we realized it's actually pretty dry and actually in pretty good shape. I also want to mention that the Oakland Historic District application for National Register was submitted on April 15th, which includes the Carnegie Library. I know everybody's kind of been asking about where that's at, and that application process has been stalled with all the moving around of the different parts. And again, just thank everybody who's come out and gone and done those tours, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Ryan. Grateful for local government coming to our own council meeting.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Michael Ryan, and I'm the Vice Mayor for the City of Hamilton. It's an honor and a
Vice Mayor Ryan,
pleasure.
can you give us your address just for the record
I
for
should
us?
have known that.
Appreciate
Rookie
it.
mistake. 663 Orient Way, Hamilton, 45013.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight, and I appreciate the time that you have given me to speak briefly tonight. At our last City Council meeting last week, Mayor Moeller announced our intent of creating the Hamilton Middletown Task Force. Hamilton City Council is excited about the possibility of both of our councils coming together and joining forces. This task force can help establish what I call the 3 C's. That's collaboration, communication, and cooperation. Whether it's doing community cleanups in our neighborhoods, sharing ideas on how to address common issues that affect both of our cities, or funding a joint project, we have an opportunity to do great things for our city by working together. I hope the City Council will accept our invitation to establish this task force, and with both of our councils coming together, this will only help move both of our communities forward. Together we can make Hamilton and Middletown a better place to live, to work, and to play. And again, thank you for allowing me to speak to all of you tonight, and looking forward to further discussions.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys reaching out to us about that.
Sure.
Great
I'll
idea.
be responding to your email that I just saw
Yeah.
come in, so.
Sounds good.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
guys.
Appreciate it.
See you, Michael.
Guess we owe you guys a visit too, huh? I'm gonna have to go to one of your meetings. Next, we have Verlena Stewart.
Hello, Verlena Stewart, 4326 Pennswood Drive, Middletown, Ohio. And thank you, Council, for allowing me just a few minutes to speak. I'm only here for 2 reasons. One, to model the example I want to see, because I'm really trying to encourage more community members to come out and support and be engaged with local government. The other reason is to thank you all personally for the work that you've done with the Robert Sonny Hill expansion. And I do understand that's not over yet. But I wanted to just thank you as a longtime resident, mom, and grandmother. I am also Assistant Executive Director of CBI and Director of the Robert Sonny Hill Community Center. But I come to you tonight as a citizen. First, I want to say that I appreciate your support with the expansion. Investments are always a little risky, right? We always look at investments as a risk. I want you to be encouraged that it is never a risk when you're investing in children. The ROI is always high. One of the great things I get to do at the community center when people come in is take them on tours around the building. And I love to tell the story about George Verity, because he built this city, really. And when he was building Armco Steel, he went out and he recruited blacks from the South to come to Middletown and help build his business. And what I love about him is he had the foresight of seeing that quality of life is important. And so he didn't just bring people to Middletown, he offered them a place to convene, a place that they can gather, a place that they could feel part of. And he did that all in the spirit of helping the least of them. 80 years later, the community center is still here. It's been under the city of Middletown for 54 years. The building was dedicated by George Verity in 1968. And every year, and I've been at the city more than 50 years, the community center has been on the chopping block. But all of the councils, all of the generations of councils have saw that same spirit of helping the least, and they've continued to support the center. And I look at us now with a new generation of council who is doing the same thing. Not sure how all of this is going to turn out, but I wanted to publicly say thank you for investing in our kids. Thank you for investing in the South End. Thank you for investing in the Route 4 corridor. Be encouraged. I know it's hard. You make difficult decisions every day. Is this project or that project? I know you're being thrown that, but be encouraged that what you're doing is the right thing, and to invest in our kids and to make the weakest link strong always makes all of us better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Relina.
Great. Next, after our citizen comments, our council comments, we'll start with Mr. Muterspaw.
Thank you, Mayor. First, thank you to Verlina for coming. A lot of people don't know how we know Verlina. She was the city manager's assistant for years here. So she worked in this building for a long time, and so we got to know her. So our kids grew up together playing soccer and everything. So thank you for coming, Verlina. Pretty awesome. The other thing, I just want to say one thing. Staff here, we talk about this all the time, but it seems like the last few weeks, a lot of council gets complaints, whether it's through messenger, emails, or whatever, about staff not getting here in time, or the roads aren't done, or fire's late to a call. Just asking the public, please be patient with these people. We're short 200 and something employees. 200 and something employees, and until we improve pay and make those changes necessary, which we're really all trying to do, just be patient with them, because they're working so hard. And you look at the roads out there, and it's just beautiful when the roads are done, and the levy was passed for that, but they're out there working hard, and yet we still get complaints about my street's not done or this isn't done. Give them time and be patient with them. They're really trying. For fire and police, their turnovers are high because we're not paying as much as some other agencies, and we're trying to correct that. But please, when you send emails, I know it's probably nobody in this room, but please be patient with them. They're really working hard and they're trying. And I can tell you the squads in the police department sometimes work with 6, 7, I think police exactly, on a midnight. They're that short. So just be patient with them. It really takes everything we have to get the job done. I know Paul's working hard on that, but morale in the building is great. We're trying to do better with it, but please be patient with staff. They're really trying. That's really all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Boone.
Yes, just 2 comments. We did receive word this week that it looks like the county commissioners are going to fund the demolition of the paper board. I know the city manager received a call, and it was in the press, so I wanted to publicly thank the commissioners. We look forward to working with them on that and to getting that building down as quickly as possible. And then to Vice Mayor Ryan, we've had offline communications here for a long time, and wanted to thank him for coming down. I'm certainly interested in partnering with Hamilton. They got a lot of the same strengths and a lot of the same challenges that we do, and if we can pool our collective resources and knowledge and strength, we can get a lot done. So appreciate them coming down and opening that door. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Nenny?
Thank you. I don't have a lot to add, but to echo Councilman Moon, I think it's wonderful to finally hear back from the county that they're interested in working with us on the paperboard project. It'll certainly make a difference to that Route 4 corridor and making the improvements that we've talked about there. Verlina, thank you for coming down and just talking to us a little bit about about all the good things that are happening at the community center and what we can do to really improve that and make it better for generations to come, because we're just one in the line of many to come behind us, and if we can set a good example for them of how to be good stewards of our city, hopefully the young people who see us doing that will come up and want to do the same thing someday for themselves. So investing in our youth is certainly important, and I appreciate you coming out for that. Jerry, thank you for all of your hard work on the parades. I think creating things that are fun and exciting and free for families is a real mission that you come out with every year and every summer, and I appreciate all the hard work that you put into that. So, like I said, not too much to add, but thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Mr. Farrell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. A lot of the things I was going to say have already been said. Something in research I've done that I've always found is interesting is the United States on average spends less of their GDP than almost any country in the world on children. So I think it is the city's job to step up and do what we can for the kids. So I appreciate all you've done, and we hope to do our part as well. Also want to say, acting city manager Lawley has been doing a great job, in my opinion. I was at a birthday party a couple weeks ago, and one of the city employees came up to me and she said, "I just wanted to thank you and the rest of council. You finally put the right guy in Middletown." And it was exciting to hear. She said morale has changed, everything's changed. So excited for the future, and just want to thank you and the rest of council. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just had a couple things to add this evening. First of all, I believe the polls close at 7:30. Is that right? So if you're watching and you haven't voted, you can watch us later. Get to the polls and vote. Second, I wanted to thank Chief Lawley. He's inviting a council member to each staff meeting here over the next 5 weeks or so, or every other meeting, something like that. Anyway, I appreciate it. I was at the meeting on Monday. I think it was Monday. Whew. And it was really helpful. And I know the goal that you have is to have staff and council work more in line so that we're following what everyone wants and what's best for the city, and not having these silos of communication. So really grateful for that, and looking forward to all the council members participating in different meetings. Thirdly, I'm grateful for Vice Mayor Ryan for coming tonight to speak. That was really awesome of him. And what they emailed me about with the Hamilton Middletown Task Force were a few pillars, which I thought were really exciting, ways that we can communicate better as the two cities. They talked about cost efficiencies, sharing of information, social service ideas, the use of the opioid settlement monies, and just, two historical cities getting together and just having a stronger relationship. So I think that's exciting, definitely something we'll be doing here soon. And then I wanted to follow up with the fourth thing: get out and vote. Did I not say that once already? Okay, I did.
Vote often.
Ben's looking at me like, no. Okay, that brings us to the city manager report.
Okay. Just to report, I want to say thank you to Jerry Lewis and her committee group and the lady who didn't want to talk. The parades in Middletown are one of those gems that Middletown has that we sometimes take for granted. We got a lot of gems in Middletown. The library's a gem, the airport's a gem. Nathan and I had the opportunity Friday to go out and watch the Fast Tracks team practice. And I don't know if people realize, but we have like the most renowned skydiving team in America, in the world actually, here in Middletown. And it's incredible. And it was really just unreal to watch them practice. And it's like, wow, I wish I was brave enough to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, but for the lack of proper English, it ain't going to happen. But there's a lot of them. To sit back, Middletown has a great future. The movies in the park is especially exciting. I can remember, I don't know if anyone else, when you used to be able to go to Armco Park and watch movies. Okay, I'm not. I know I was old, but and now we're doing it in Middletown. So that and we have a lot of stuff going for us in Middletown, and it's only going to get better. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. And for those watching on YouTube later, what you can't see that I find is really amazing about Chief Lawley is that when he's giving his city manager report, he's not looking at council. Do you know who he's looking at?
People.
The citizens. That is awesome and really unique. So thank you. Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda. Ms. Skank, will you present that for us this evening?
For your consideration, we have the approval of the city council minutes from November 16th, 2021. Receive and file the following board and commission minutes from the cemetery board of July the 21st and January 19th, 2022. The civil service commission minutes from February 17th and March 17th, 2022, and the airport commission from March the 21st, 2022. And to approve a 3-year contract with A.E. David Company of Dayton, Ohio for uniforms for the Division of Fire in an amount not to exceed $45,000 for each year.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
We have one item on the motion agenda tonight to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Benchmark Land Management LLC to conduct point repairs on approximately 150 linear feet of sewer in an amount not to exceed $223,491.77.
So moved for adoption?
Second?
Ms. Stanku, please call the roll.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mr. Yoder, would you like to present the legislation for us?
I would, thank you, Mayor. So you've got 11 items on your legislative agenda tonight, the first 7 of which are being proposed for passage as emergencies. So before I get started, I'd just ask council to waive the second reading requirements as it pertains to emergency measures. That'll pertain specifically to resolution numbers R 2022-15 through 17, ordinances number O 2022-42 through 44, and then resolution R 2022-18.
I move to waive the charter provisions requiring reading on 2 separate days and to declare, can I just say all of the ones that Mr. Yoder just explained as an emergency measure and read one time only.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Second?
Ms. Stanku, please call the roll.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
All right, first item is resolution number R 2022-15, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. This pertains to the water fund.
So moved for adoption?
Second.
Mr. Wally, would you like to speak to this?
The only thing I have to add here is this is for the replacement of water meters that we've determined are non-functional and inaccurate, so we can get water meters in that are doing the job they're supposed to do.
And this is a second reading emergency, is that right?
Yes, this is a second reading.
Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Stanku, please call the roll.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Second item is resolution R 2022-16, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. This is water and general fund.
So moved for adoption?
Second?
This is a second reading also for funds to cover the fire department in the flowing and the testing of hydrants in the city.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Stanku, please call the roll.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Third item is resolution number R 2022-17, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. This is Airport Improvement Fund.
So moved for adoption?
Second.
Chief?
This also is the second reading for the airport capital improvement funds, and this is where the $50,000 were appropriated for, but they were not properly allocated in the payment of Wolpert.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Stanku, please call the roll.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Abstain.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Fourth item is ordinance number O 2022-42, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Yoakum Fireworks LLC and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption?
Second.
Chief?
This is to pay for the fireworks on the July 4th. If we don't get this paid, we have to have 30% down here in the next few days, and if we do not get that done, we stand a chance of losing the Yoakum to other entities who are having fireworks.
Are they the ones who did it last year?
Yes, they're the ones who did it the last couple of years.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
How did we select the vendor aside from we've worked with them before?
We select them on the success we've had with them in the past. Our fire marshal and the public works have worked with them very well, and we're comfortable with them. And so
I mean, I
we chose
agree,
to-
the fire
Yeah, we chose to stick with them.
Where is the threshold for having to bid it out? Maybe there isn't one, Ben, I'm not sure if that's a legal question. This is always a gray area for me.
Yeah, hard and loose, there's a difference between this type of contract and professional services and others where we're procuring other types of things. But generally, a hard and fast rule is $50,000 is your threshold. But for a contract like this, we're fine to proceed how we have.
Okay. Of course, first reading emergency, not the biggest fan. 4th of July is the same day every year. But
And another issue on this is we thought we were going to have the funds that we didn't spend from last year to totally cover this, but it turns out we don't.
So how much funding was left over from last year, and how much?
The total amount left over from last year is $22,959, so that's why this is an additional $14,128.
So that was left over from last year.
Yeah, the 22,000.
And we had that additional surplus because,
Saving money on vendors.
I think we also were using funds from the year prior for last year. 'Cause
And
we didn't have one at all.
that is correct. They did tell me that today, yes.
so was the spending for last year maybe more than it would have been otherwise?
Well, I think why we saved money from the year before that was because it was scaled way down because of COVID.
Yeah, I don't think we did one at all the year
Right.
before that, and then we said we were going to use that to make a really big show the following year. And so I think, I
And the way
believe
I'm
that's how.
remembering it too, like fireworks were way more expensive last year because
Oh,
of
they're even more
More this
expensive
year.
this year.
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with the mayor. I don't like the emergency for this, but I understand why you guys had to do it. I get it. You're right, it's the 4th every year, and okay.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Muerspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Fifth item is ordinance number O-2022-43, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an amendment to a contract with Perkins Carmack Construction LLC for the design and construction of a maintenance building at the water reclamation facility and declaring an emergency.
So move for adoption.
Second.
At this time, I'll have Nikita Lancaster, the Assistant Public Works Director, come up and present this legislation.
Hi. So last year, Perkins Carmack submitted a proposal in May for the construction of the maintenance building. We didn't actually sign a contract with them until November. We had extensive legal negotiations with them. So the contractor rebid the subcontractor packages in January of 2021 or January of 2022. He let us know in January that costs were coming in higher than what he had put in his May 2021 proposal. So we talked with him a lot about, opportunities to value engineer. Can we talk to other subcontractors? Can we try to get the cost back in line with where we were? He spent a couple months trying to do that, came back to us and said that his hands were tied with the cost of the subcontract work packages. So that's why we're requesting an amendment to adjust the contract amount.
So this is the second amendment, obviously, to this contract, and we're now at the high end of the original bids that came in, and we picked the lowest bidder, and now we're at the high end of it, which is, of course, frustrating. I understand there's price increases. The change orders that we made at the last one, so those were for the geotech and the material cost escalation. It said that they'd only be utilized if necessary and authorized by the city. Do we know if those are gonna?
So they did use the geotech, and then the other allowance for material escalation, that's been accounted for in the amount that we're asking for a change order. So wherever there were cost savings on other things, we tried to minimize the change order on this one. So That's why it's 44 and not more than 44.
Okay, and is any of what we approved in the last ordinance, the 2021-16, or this one, are they able to be rolled into the bond financing for the project, or is this coming straight out of existing funds?
It could be rolled into the bond. I think when I talked to Nathan about it, it makes sense just to pay for it out of sewer capital rather than try to add it to the bond because it's 44,000. If it was significantly more, we would try to roll it into the bond.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that the contract hadn't been signed till January. I was frustrated that they hadn't found their subcontractors already, and I sounded
was
like
a
a
long
contractor problem, not a city problem in that case.
Yeah,
But
it was a long contract negotiation. It was frustrating for
Yeah.
all parties.
yeah, I'm sure. Sounds
Yeah.
like it.
Any other questions?
Thank you. No further questions. Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Mueller-Spall,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell, Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Sixth item is ordinance number O 2022-44, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an amendment to a contract with Hazen and Sawyer for the design of a lime solids processing facility at the water treatment plant and declaring an emergency.
So move for adoption?
Second.
Chief.
Once again, I'll call Ms. Lancaster down to present.
Again, so as we've been moving towards the basis of design report for the lime processing facility, we vetted a lot of different locations. The footprint of the water treatment plant is pretty small, so there's not really space at the water treatment plant for a facility this size. We looked at maybe even using a part of the Public Works parking lot at 400 North Main to put the facility. There's not a lot of space there to begin with, so they didn't have any that they were willing to give up. So we sort of looked north to that to find a reasonable location, and we decided that the Light Up Middletown barn location was really an optimal location. The owners of Light Up Middletown were agreeable to relocating their facility. So we've planned on siting the new lime processing facility where the existing Light Up Middletown barn is, and then relocating the Light Up Middletown barn. So the design consultant that is working on the lime processing facility for us, they didn't take into consideration that they would be designing another building. So the contract amendment for this is to pay for fees for the consultant to design the new Light Up Middletown building. So that
This
we
is
can
simply to design the building.
Mhm.
I mean, for that type of a building that's already there, I can go find designs, fabricate, and build it for $60,000 to $100,000. So I guess I'm confused why we would pay. I mean, it's like a pole barn concept, right? Is that? I don't.
Yeah, it'll be a prefabricated building, but we're, like, the engineering piece goes into, like, the architecture, the structural slab, the HVAC that goes into the building, so it's just kind of making sure.
HVAC? Is there HVAC in the current Light Up Middletown building?
Yeah, and that's limited. I mean, there's going to be ventilation and, like, gas unit heaters for their office space in there. It's not like the whole facility's not going to be heated and conditioned.
In my mind, I don't think that this company is probably the right one to build or to design to the same level of what the current building is. I think it's overkill. I think we can find designs out there that are much cheaper and not have to spend $52,000 to do that. That's just where I'm getting a feeling of that. I know I asked for the location of where it would be, but what I got back did not, I don't think, show a location. I'm still confused where they're even gonna put the Light Up Middletown building.
It'll be on the east side of the park, sort of tucked away, like right off the east side of the main entrance into the Smith Park. We try to keep it as tucked away as possible so that we're not creating a nuisance structure there.
Does the city own the current structure?
No.
Okay, so they own it, and they would continue to own.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess I still don't understand where it's going.
Do you have the image pulled up?
Yeah, is that,
So that main road coming in
it's
is,
just so zoomed in that I can't even figure out where it is.
It's all the way on the east side of the park, like just off the main entrance.
Main entrance.
I kind of want to
That's
come
the
over there.
splash pad?
Where that little access road is already?
I think that's the splash pad. So it's next to that beaten up parking lot that's across from the
Right.
splash pad.
What you mean beaten up?
I have so many questions about this. I just feel like there's a lot more details that aren't addressed yet for a first reading emergency. I personally feel like there's just more details that we need. I think it's a lot of money for a design for a pole barn, and if I were to vote tonight, I would vote no. So I just want to, I guess, I would make a motion that we make this a second reading emergency, only because I just have so many more questions. And I think that this is kind of a big deal. It's our biggest city park, and I don't even know, like, have we talked to the soccer folks? I know there's trees there now, but there's just a lot, I don't know, there's just a lot. And I'm reticent to just,
What does that do for the time? I guess I'm just,
Yeah, and I would agree that this may not be the most optimal approach to getting this done, but it is more of like the timing of it, because we wanted to keep the design of that light up Middletown building moving forward so that we can relocate them in a timely manner before we begin construction on the lime processing facility, things like that. So, I mean, we're still a ways away from being complete on the design for the lime processing facility, so I don't imagine that we would start construction until 2023.
So it's not, is it going to be a hindrance at all if we postpone it? And
No, I mean, doing a second reading emergency is fine. I think my thought process is having it an emergency was just because the consultants kind of like, are we designing this or are we not? So trying to kind of give them feedback on what our thoughts are on that, so.
How would it look if we, instead of using this consultant to design this building, used someone else? Like, walk me through what would happen. Would we have to go out for bids on that? Like, how,
Yeah, we probably would, because our best guess at this point is that design fees are over the $50,000 threshold for that, so we would have to put out a RFP for consultants or whatever.
so
how
pole
would that
barn,
affect
I mean, you can buy them off of Menards with pre-designed. I guess I don't understand why we're paying a design company for a pole barn. Maybe I don't understand pole barns well enough, but I know people who've purchased them and put them up themselves, and I don't think it's more than a pole barn that they have. But again, see, these are all the questions that a first reading emergency, like, I just don't feel like I can flesh out.
Okay.
But that's me. I'm not speaking for other council members. This one, yeah.
Okay.
I know one of the answers was that, so I did ask, are we moving the building or creating a new one? And Public Works just did come back and said, we're building a new building. The building itself has wooden trusses and is set up to be taken down and reassembled, and that they did discuss options for reusing the old building, either for Light Up Middletown or other departments in the city, and they didn't see obvious benefits to that. So just for everyone to understand
So
that.
is the old building going to have to be demolished in order to build the lime processing? So there's nothing that we can move?
Right, yep.
and is the hope to have Light Up Middletown in the new building for this winter?
No, I think it would more be over the 2023, 2024 season. But the idea would be to construct the building in 2023 so that when they move out of their building now, that when they're moving back in after Light Up Middletown, they're moving into the new facility.
And I think what I anticipate the biggest cost here is the concrete slab that would be put on. That's a big, huge cost, which we have one there now. And I don't know if will then save us money on the new building, or they're just gonna have to bust that all up,
Oh,
probably.
if we can reuse the concrete slab, that's a good question. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I just know that's a
I
big.
know the footprint's going to be a little bit different, so, and
Yeah,
you
I
might
mean,
need
I
more-
highly doubt they're
more
gonna
supports, so.
reuse it, but I don't know. And then I had also asked some questions about like traffic flow, if that new lime facility is there, if it would disrupt the bike path, because that is the way to get from Smith Park all the way out to the Great Miami River. And those questions still weren't answered either, which that's a big one to me. Like, I don't want to disrupt that connection. I think it's an important connection that we have.
Yeah, and I think there's probably two separate conversations there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's the one that's specific to the Light Up Middletown building, and then I think it sounds like you guys probably want a little bit more information as the design unfolds on the line processing facility. Because
Yeah.
we don't have the layout firm enough now that we can look at sort of how it all fits together. So, I mean, we could come back to you and present, more at 30% design and show you guys what those layouts look like and get some feedback on sort of how that impacts the park, where the bike path's going to be, what the concerns are at that point.
Yeah, you're right. They are two separate issues for sure, so I don't want to muddy them. But yeah, I think because now it's abutting, basically everyone who goes to Smith Park is going to see this lime processing facility. So, I was asking about, is there fencing and what does that look like? And is it some big ugly facade? I don't, just something that was coming to mind with all of
Yeah.
these changes. So
Yeah. There's still a lot of things to be worked out with the
yeah,
land
it's a big
processing
project, I know.
Okay.
If you think it's okay to bring it back in 2 weeks, I certainly don't mind giving it more time if it's not gonna throw
Okay.
a major wrench in the.
I'm happy to field any more questions via email or in person or phone calls.
I guess I was just curious about what other locations were considered for the lime processing facility, and why those were not necessary. And that's something that maybe if you want to email and let us know.
Well, we had talked about using part of like the public works lot that's east of the wastewater or the water treatment plant, because that's where like our streets department is, electronics is over there, all that stuff's. They're already pretty constrained on the space that they have. So we went over there and walked it with them and talked about it and talked about options like, can we take this part of the parking lot? Can we do that? I mean, that seemed like the most obvious choice initially, and that's why we didn't include relocating Light Up Middletown in their scope. There's just, we can't tie their hands and use the space that they have because they wouldn't have places to store their equipment and all that stuff. So
I guess I'm just thinking, and I don't have a map in front of me or really, but there is a ton of wooded space back there. I mean, would that,
are you talking about like to the west?
Well, part of me thinks just,
Essity owns that.
do they own that? part
Yeah,
of the land?
Essity owns
I mean, okay.
what about the land to the north of the Light Up Middletown building that's kind of at the end of the airport? Is that not usable land, or how much land? I mean, that's a lot of land there. Without moving them is,
I think our desire was to keep that as close to the water treatment plant as possible. I think there would be some logistical challenges of getting over to that space. Right now we've somewhat got access to where that Light Up Middletown barn is. Trucks get back there now. So that's readily accessible without sending trucks through the park. If we go on the other side of that, I think that's actually more complicated. And that doesn't mean it's the wrong answer. I think that's why we landed on Light Up Middletown.
okay. And the space by the wellhead, like along that bike path, is that because of the slope of the land? Is that not usable? Like the end of the runway, essentially. Like the end. Where there's a wellhead out there, right? I think it's number 3. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Where the lime pond is overflowing over the bike path. There's
I don't actually think there's enough space there, but
Okay.
I'd have to look at that closer. So.
I'm just thinking 52,000 design, how much to fabricate? It's a kind of an expensive endeavor to move them when the building they're in is seemingly fitting their needs and nice and doesn't need demolition.
Okay.
Well, and we don't expect you to know the answer to those questions, because I've lived here my whole life and I don't know the answers to those questions
Yeah.
about the land. So it's something I think that, I see exactly what you're saying though about the location of that, because that, like the mayor said, that is our jewel park, and that's it, so I get that 100%. And I think maybe if we revisit it in 2 weeks, I think that's a great idea. It just gives us a chance to look at it and ask questions.
Okay.
Those are hard questions, because I'm trying to picture in my mind exactly where some of the locations are being talked about, and I don't really know logistically if it would work there, so
Okay.
I get it.
And I don't know if the property owners, like if Essity or whoever owns that property is even, I don't know if they care to sell their property. I'm just throwing ideas out there. I mean, we all know what's in the woods.
Right, that's what I meant. That's sort of what I meant when I said, what about the woods?
Yeah.
Because it's a bit of a nuisance over there, if I'm being really honest. I mean, anybody who's walked that bike path or taken that connection to the bike path, if that could be an option, I mean, if we would be spending this money remediating a different issue, I don't know, just.
We'll look at some of those things that you guys brought up and get you some more information, and any other questions you have, you can let us know.
I appreciate you listening to all of our wild thoughts. So I have a motion, I guess, to delay vote on this.
Yeah, I'd do it as a motion to amend the agenda to convert ordinance 2022-44 to a second reading emergency, with a second reading to be held at the next council meeting.
Yes,
I'll rescind my motion.
oh, yeah.
Correct.
I would like to formally rescind my motion. I think you second.
No, Mr. Mittersmall did.
I had you.
Oh, okay.
I did. So I rescind my second.
And then I'd like to make a motion to amend the legislation item for a second reading emergency to be voted on at the next council meeting.
Second.
Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mittersmall,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Seventh item is resolution number R 2022-18, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. This is a water fund matter.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Council, this is to cover increased costs for chemicals at the water treatment plants and to cover the cost of the, what we call the clarifier cleaner.
Two words come to mind. China, Russia. That's it. Are we planning to pass these costs along in the water bills, or are we just going to absorb them? Because, I mean, the phosphate went from $4 to $11. Wow.
I think it's something we'll have to visit. Nikita?
Boy, you are the star of the show tonight.
So we actually have an RFP out right now to do like a comprehensive water and sewer rate study. We are forecasting a lot of capital expenditures moving forward, you know, increased operating costs and things like that. So we felt like it'd be good to bring a consultant on, do a formal rate study for us so that we can really dive deep on these details and figure out what the appropriate rate increases are. But I think, yes, you know, I think that the outcome of that is going to be some level of rate increases. So.
Yeah, I don't really see a way around that. I mean, this is,
Sure, we're not the only community.
Right.
no, not at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what kind of comps that they would come up with in their study, even what other communities are doing.
So for this request is simply to change the expenditures, and then there'll be a study as to if, when, how we should update any billing.
That is correct.
Any comments or questions from council? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mittersmall,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
All right, moving out of the emergency legislation and onto the regular stuff. Item number 8 is ordinance number O 2022-45, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $3,500,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of acquiring and equipping a fire ladder truck for use by the city's fire department, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and improvements to the municipal wastewater system, including the construction, equipping, and installation of a maintenance building at the water reclamation facility, together with all necessary and related appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency. No actions proposed until the May 17th, 2022 council meeting.
Chief.
Other than what's in there, I don't have anything to add unless Nathan does. It's creating the ban for the building and for the ladder truck, the water reclamation facility and the ladder truck into the ban bond Do you have anything to add?
Any comments or questions?
All right, moving on. Number 9, ordinance number O-2022-46, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to pay each non-union city employee a one-time lump sum payment of premium pay using ARPA. This is a first reading.
Chief?
Council, this is the first reading for something that was began when the city first received notification of ARPA monies. A portion of that was sectioned out to allow to pay premium pay to our employees. And we're moving forward with that request to council. This is for all the non-union employees. So essentially those employees outside, Public Works, AFSCME employees, police, fire, corrections officers, dispatchers, and the civilian police union employees. The AFSCME workers have already received the premium pay via their negotiations a few months ago, and the police have negotiated in their current contract, which hasn't come to you yet. This is, as I said, for all the non-union employees, and after this will come, we'll negotiate with the fire, dispatchers, corrections officers, and non-union police employees.
Mr. Lally, the legislation has a line item for city council. I assume that's for Amy, not for us.
What, I
Yeah, I was
didn't
gonna
know.
ask the same.
There's a line item in the legislation that
Oh,
allots money for city council.
you
I
got
wanted
it.
to make sure
Okay.
the public knew that was
Yes.
for our employee, not
Yes.
for us.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Any other comments or questions?
Item 10, resolution number R-2022-19, a resolution authorizing the purchase of real property from Sorg Paper Company. This is the Essity property in a first reading.
Yes, this is the purchase of the find my notes here, I apologize. For the downtown CSO storage basin that the city needs to put in, and this is actually for the actual purpose of the land from Essity Papers to put the CSO storage basin in that we approved at the last council meeting.
Any comments or questions?
All right, 11th and final item is ordinance number O-2022-47, an ordinance authorizing a contract with J.W. Devers and Son, Inc. for the purchase of mounted equipment for the 3 previously purchased international truck chassis. Again, a first reading.
Okay, as you see, back in 2020, we purchased 3 international trucks, and finally, the equipment to put on these trucks is available, and this is the first reading to approve the purchase of that equipment. It's for like the plows and the equipment on the truck for snow plowing, snow removal, and other seasonal things.
While we're on the topic of snow plowing and snow removal, since it's only May,
Yeah,
that we're getting ahead of it.
that's why it's not an emergency.
I love it. I love it. Last year, it came to our attention that I believe Hamilton is one of the cities. There may be others, but there are some great smart, whether they be apps or tracking or whatever it might be, that cities are putting on their snow plows to not only help the staff employees know where the plows have gone, but also to help citizens know where the plows have gone. I think there's a lot of value in that. I would love for us to see what has worked for other local cities and maybe look if we can maybe implement something like that since we have a little bit of time.
I'll put Scott and Nikita on that. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I don't know if you've looked into doing any of that. Good, great.
Great.
See? Awesome.
Love it to hear. Thanks. If you can't hear on YouTube, Scott said they are looking into it.
They are. They better be. No.
Any other comments or questions about the winter time?
I was just complimenting you earlier, and then you go and say something.
Yeah, I know. Talk to the fireman.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it for legislation then? Great. Any new business items from council?
I have a quick one. I don't want to overstep in the day-to-day city operations. However, I would like, if the rest of council would like, for staff to look long and hard at hiring a full-time grant writer for the city. I don't know if you guys have already done that. I know I've been away for a few years, but we, at the police department, we sent Vanessa Clark to grant writing training. And Eric, does she still do that? Does she still do the grants? And it was invaluable for us. And but sometimes I know the city staff is so short, sometimes things fall through the cracks, like the Brownfield grant that we lost because of a missed deadline. If you have a full-time grant writer, that doesn't happen. And another thing that's pretty cool around cities around us where they have a full-time grant writer, they actually write a grant to pay for their position. So I
Right,
just think
yes.
it's invaluable because there's so much federal dollars out there for grants that it's worth the money. And I know Zach and I have talked about it a little bit prior to being elected about that might be something. But if the rest of council is cool with that, having staff look at that at least.
Yeah, and that's something we Nathan and I talked about in looking at where we're going with the economic development department, and I realized that grant writing isn't just economic development, but you know, we had the director of economic development, the assistant director of economic development, and maybe we want to looking at that position and creating something like a grant writer. And so we have kind of talked about it a little bit, and we will visit that.
I don't want to put the squeeze on you. If the rest of council is supportive of it, I'd like staff to at least take a hard look at it.
Is your vision, or maybe how it's been done in the past, I'm not sure, it was kind of like they had other responsibilities as well?
Minor ones. Here's why. I mean, this group is so short-staffed. I'm afraid if we just keep throwing stuff on them, it's not fair to them. And I think that's what happened sometime with that previous grant and others, that they have so many other duties, they fall through. So if you hire somebody, whether it's in particular, however the manager and the assistant manager wanted to do it, they would have that, but grant writing would be their primary job. And it is a chore, it's a task, and Eric will tell you, he's with accreditation, all that, it's an 8-hour job. It's not a write a grant and then you're done. It's staying on top of stuff constantly. I'm sorry to front you out, Eric. Eric's the deputy chief at the police department, works for Chief Burke, so I know Eric was real instrumental in a lot of our grants in the past. That's what kind of reminded me of it, seeing Eric sit there. So
It's the same like in the fire. I knew if we had someone who would help us like that, we'd be going after a lot more grants. But
there's so much money out there.
Well,
I
and
see Missy back there shaking her head, yes, like that's something that communications department and other departments, I'm sure, would be able to utilize, so.
I'm just wondering, do you need some sort of special, like, should somebody within each department, you know, if I was writing a grant for Public Works and you need to have some engineering understanding, if I were just a grant writer, I wouldn't really know the inner workings of how that all connect, or maybe.
Well, the amazing thing about that is there are companies out there that do it, and they write grants for all sorts of different departments and
How it's
entities.
Sounds like
worked
there's a way.
how it's worked in the past. I know when Vanessa would write grants, if she wrote a grant over something she had no idea, she would sit down with that person, go over everything. She would
Right.
still write the grant. Most of the grants online are fill in the blanks, but you have to have, there's certain rules that you have to do, like the matching grants, which with finance, they want to make sure, look, this is a matching grant. You know, we might not vote for that because it is matching, but there's money out there. If we just have a grant writer go to school and train, it works.
Yes,
I mean, I've seen it
absolutely.
work.
And it keeps from things falling through the cracks like we've had in the past, clearly. If one person has one specific job, then you don't have one person doing 10 different things and something gets forgotten, and it just goes down to it falls on one person's back.
Yeah, and that's why I said be fair to the city
Right.
employees, because if you look at all of the department heads and people, they don't have the time.
we'll look into it.
Thank you.
It would have been a good investment on missed grants in the past. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I look at it like, small businesses, oh, I don't have the money for marketing. Okay, well, a marketing campaign should actually earn you money, not cost you money, right? So same thing goes for a grant writer. I think it has the opportunity to earn us more money than it would cost us. I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
I guess I'm curious what other communities, what other cities are doing. How many of the cities around us have dedicated grant writers, and what that would look like?
Bigger cities all have them. Now, I wish Michael he's not here, he had already left, but I would ask him, I think Hamilton's got one, but maybe the mayor could find out if she's in talks with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, I saw you back there shaking your head.
So coming from a position in the schools, we had 2 permanent grant writers. And there are a lot of people out there who have that ability to write those grants, to get small, teeny tiny $1,000, $2,000 grants up to $100,000 grants. Like you said, Rodney, they're out there. There's tons out there. It's about finding the right fit, and you have to go department to department and talk to people what they're looking for and be specific about what you want these grants for, and then go find the grants that you want to fit your needs. So that's really, it's not necessarily finding a grant that might fit. It's you have a need, find a grant to fit that need.
Proactive versus reactive.
Exactly. That is exactly what it is. So that's really what you want, somebody who knows how to do that, who is able to do that and can do that. And like I said, there's lots of people out there. And you don't have to necessarily go to school for it. There's workshops, and they offer tons of opportunities for learning, and their weekend or...
Yeah, that's what we sent Vanessa to. I think it was 2 or 3 different workshops over a 6-month period.
Yes.
And then by going to those workshops, she was signed up, and she would receive, hey, here's the 100 grants that came out this month. Do you want any of these type thing?
Right.
And then we would pick and choose what would work. The city manager selected them, but we would pick and choose and give it to Doug at the time, and he would say, yeah, this or no this. So it really worked for us.
And there's police grants out there, there's fire grants out there, there's and it fits your needs and to what you want. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sometimes too, through our professional organizations, they offer specific grants through those organizations. You know, if you're a member of the Ohio Treasurers Association, then you would have access to certain grants that non-members would not have access to. So I know in the past, through some of my professional affiliations, and I pass those on to Jake at the time, you know, that here's opportunities for money based on this membership. So I think there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Okay, we're on board. Thank you. I wanted to mention one extra thing that I should have mentioned earlier in one of the legislation items. I'm grateful to the Grandpa Gang for being so flexible and being willing to work with the city. I meant to mention that, so thank you, Grandpa Gang. And I had one more new business item. Manchester Sunshine, First Financial, is it time for RFQs on those? Because I think we've got a lot of interest, and I think in the past we've kind of just let somebody come to the table and we just sign something with them, but perhaps this time we actually do RFQs for the buildings and have people, actually entities, propose what they want to do.
Is that something that we would put out on our economic development website? Is that something that, I mean, not having that person in economic development right now, how would we go? I mean, I don't know, Paul, if you have any suggestions about how we would move forward with something like that.
Okay, so that's something, you know, we've given a lot of thought over the last several weeks because we've been fielding a lot of these, hey, I want to go through the Sunshine Building. I want to go through the Manchester Building. I want to go over and make a presentation on Lincoln School, the Renaissance, et cetera, et cetera. And what I think we need to do is exactly what the mayor is suggesting, get the RFQs out there. But what I need direction in is we need to make sure it matches the comprehensive plan of the city's master plan, because I'm exactly like that. We don't want to say, okay, you throw this in the Sunshine Building and you throw this into the Manchester Building, and then et cetera, et cetera. So that's I think what we need to really
I guess my question,
focus on there.
I don't really have an answer. do we view them as one bundle? Do we view them all individually? Do we view
Right.
Manchester and Snyder as one or as two? And
Right.
I think we see them separately, and if someone wants to propose a project that would utilize more than one of those properties, then we view that as an outlier.
Open up your doors and say you're ready for business.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think that's what the RFQ process is really intended.
Exactly. I think if we say, hey, we're going to have an RFQ and like we put an area together, then if we can look at that entire plan of that specific area and say, okay, this will complement that will complement that. And I kind of looking back through like the files in the city manager's office, some of that, there seemed to be some semblance in the past administration's vision into that. If you look at some of the areas and I think actually the RFQ way is the way to go about it. Now Nathan, I don't know if you have you've got a lot more experience in that than I do, so.
No, I think what council here is talking about and suggesting is right on point. I think what city staff can do here in the near future is try to put together at least a guideline or an outline of an RFQ, RFP packet, and I think garner council's thoughts to make sure that, because at the end of the day, the city owns these properties. You folks are trustees of these properties, and obviously you want to put them back into productive use on the terms that you think is best for the community. And so we want to make sure that whatever we send out is congruent with your folks' thoughts. But this is a very, very doable project.
Well, I know something the city staff's already working on is the RFPs for new roofs on First
Yes.
National in Manchester. I think like in the next few days or week or so, that's going to be out. I know Deborah, I think, sent an email.
Man, Deborah, I thought we were going to give you a break tonight.
Yeah.
and why she's coming down. I would, unless staff has a good reason to maybe say, hey, we need to hit the pause button for a month or two, I would like this, because we just got a lot of these buildings back. We haven't really done this in over a decade. I think it'll give us some good insight into
Yes, I agree
what
with you.
is interest, what is the interest,
What is the market, yeah.
what is the
We're getting a lot of interest, but we haven't seen a plan.
And the Senate Bill
much is it gonna
225, if it does get
Yeah, the-
passed, which I don't know where it stands exactly, but the fall 22 applications, I believe, are the first that would benefit from it. So, the sooner we can get these out, the sooner they can apply for those tax credit benefits, which is huge.
We will make it a priority.
Deborah.
I just wanted to give a quick update. The chief building official is meeting a contractor on site for the First National and Manchester Inn tomorrow on Wednesday. Apparently, at some point in the past, I was not a part of that process. We did look at replacing the roof on the First National building. However, we just put it out for RFP, and the responses that we got were so varied because there are so many different kinds of roofing systems, so many different ways that you can make repairs or replacement, that there was no way to make a good decision as far as what should the realistic cost of this be, what is it that we're actually looking for. And so before we put it back out for RFP again, we are taking a contractor out to do some drilling and some samples to find out structurally what does it look like right now, what kind of repairs actually need to be made, what makes sense with the way that the building's designed, so that when we put that RFP out, we have a more narrow focus. So this is what we're looking for when we see something that's $35 million on a brand new roof, then we're like, okay, that's a little bit outside of the scope of what we're looking for here. It just gives us a baseline so that we know what we're looking at the RFP when the results come back. So as soon as we get that information and the RFP is out, I'll be more than happy to send an update and let you all know.
Great. Thank you.
I would be curious, one of the questions just to ask is if the building if it's even realistic that it could ever have rooftop entertainment or whatever it might be, only because, my gosh, the view up there is amazing.
Really cool.
It is.
So I don't know, it may be totally absurdly expensive. And
I'd be more than
it's
happy
a
to-
slope, it's not even, but
You don't know?
might as well
until you
ask,
the question.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Good to have the answer too, especially if we're soliciting, interest.
Thank you.
And on that note, both developers who I went through anywhere saw the paper stack from, I think it's Essity, right? And said that is a cool architectural landmark that even if they're not going to use it, would be really nice if it stayed. I think it's cool. I think they plan to get rid of it. God's sake, he's doing this. It's coming down, huh? Maybe, is there any way I can give him a call? Anyway.
Yeah, we'll try. I see we are getting a Harbor Freight.
Oh. New business right there.
Where's that going?
You know where the is it Outlets or Big Lots behind Dairy Queen, Frickers,
Yeah.
between Dairy Queen in there.
Awesome.
Got the temporary sign up, which is awesome. Yeah.
I think that's been vacant for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always good to see.
No tax credits either. Any other new business? Okay, with that, you have 40 minutes left to vote, I think. So get out and vote. And our next meeting will be May 17th, 5:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.